Psalm chapter 2, verse 7 says, I will proclaim the Lord's decree. He said to me, you are my son. Today I have become your father. Psalm chapter 2 tells a story of the coronation of a king, likely David. And this king was raised up, anointed and appointed by God to be the king of Israel. And all of a sudden, post that coronation, enemies, nations rise against him to attack him. And throughout this psalm, essentially the point is God is on your side. And in verse 7, there's an interesting affirmation that God gives the king. He says, you are my son, today I become your father. Now we know in the ancient world that kings were often called in Israel the Son of God. And that wasn't capital S-O-N, it was lowercase because the viewpoint there was that the king was in dependence upon God, in relationship with God, in intimacy with God, and would follow the teachings of God in the land of Israel. So God would call the king son, out of a picture of an intimate relationship that the king would have with God. Well, we know that this psalm, particularly verse 7, is ultimately fulfilled in Jesus. In fact, at Jesus' baptism, Matthew chapter 3, verse 17, it says, and a voice from heaven said, this is my capital S-O-N, whom I love, with whom I am well pleased. And then Luke, writing the book of Acts, speaking of the resurrection of Jesus, wrote, we tell you the good news, what God has promised to our ancestors, he has fulfilled for us, their children, by raising up Jesus. As it is written in the second Psalm, you are my son, today I become your father. Luke says, and even Matthew, that the ultimate fulfillment of Psalm chapter 2 was that the Son of God would come, live a life, do ministry, teach us the way of Jesus, the way of God, and then die on a cross and rise again. And the fulfillment of this psalm would be enveloped in that story of the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus. Which means what? Which means ultimately Jesus is king. He is the one reigning and ruling and leading us, his people. And we get the joy of following him and desiring to live as he teaches us to live. This is not something that is a burden. This is something that is a blessing for our life, that we, as the people of Jesus, would worship and follow the Son of God, the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Can I encourage you to do that today? Just to say, Jesus, here I am. You are King, and you are the capital S-O-N, Son of God. And I am here to follow you and to do what you have called me to do today. In Jesus' name, have an amazing day. Much love.